François Pascal Simon, Baron Gérard, was a French painter born in Rome, where his father occupied a post in the house of the French ambassador. His mother was Italian. As a Baron of the Empire, he is sometimes referred to as Baron Gérard. Life. François Gérard was born in Rome on 4M 1770 to J.S. Gérard and Claire Maté. At the age of 12, Gérard obtained admission into the Pension du Roi in Paris. For the pension he passed to the studio of the sculptor Augustin Pajot, which he left at the end of 2 years for that of the history painter Nicolas Guy-Brenet, whom he quit almost immediately to place himself under Jacques-Louis David. In 1789 he competed for the Prix de Rome, which was carried off by his comrade Giraudet. In the following year he again presented himself, but the death of his father prevented the completion of his work, and obliged him to accompany his mother to Rome. In 1791 he returned to Paris, but his poverty was so great that he was forced to forego his studies in favor of employment which should bring in immediate profit. David at once availed himself of his help, and one of that master's most celebrated portraits, of Louis Michel Le Pelletier de Saint-Fargeau, may owe much to the hand of Gérard. This painting was executed early in 1793, the year in which Gérard, at the request of David, was named a member of the Revolutionary Tribunal, from the fatal decisions of which he, however, invariably absented himself. In 1794 he obtained the first prize in a competition, the subject of which was the 10th of August, that is, the storming of the Tuileries Palace. Further stimulated by the successes of his rival and friend Giraudet in the salons of 1793 and 1794, Gérard obtained undisputed success, and the money received from his abbey for these two works enabled Gérard to execute in 1797 his Psyche et l'amour. At last, in 1799, his portrait of Madame Mir established his position as one of the first portrait painters of the day. In 1808 as many as 8, and in 1810 no less than 14, portraits by him were exhibited at the Salon, and these figures afford only an indication of the enormous numbers which he executed yearly. All the leading figures of the Empire and of the Bourbon Restoration, all the most celebrated men and women of Europe, sat to Gérard. This extraordinary vogue was due partly to the charm of his manner and conversation, for his salon was as much frequented as his studio. Madame de Staël, George Canning, Talleyrand, the Duke of Wellington, have all borne witness to the attraction of his society. Rich and famous, Gérard was stung by remorse for earlier ambitions abandoned. At intervals he had indeed striven with Giraudet and other rivals to prove his strength at history painting, still a more prestigious genre than portraiture. His Bataille d'Austerlitz showed a breadth of invention and style which are even more conspicuous in L'Entrée d'Henri via Paris, the work with which in 1817 he did homage to the returned Louis XVIII. After this date Gérard declined, watching with impotent grief the progress of the Romantic school. Loaded with honors, Baron of the Empire in 1809, member of the Institute on the 7th of March 1812, officer of the Légion d'Honneur, first painter to the king, he worked on, sad and discouraged, the Revolution of 1830 added to his disquiet, and on the 11th of January 1837, after 3 days of fever, he died. Gérard is best remembered for his portraits. The color of his paintings has suffered, but his drawings show in uninjured delicacy the purity of his line, and those of women are especially remarkable for a virginal simplicity and frankness of expression. His students included Heinrich Christoph Kolb. Selected works.